Hey guys, I have props and I need them because this is a pretty boring video, even with the props. But that's fine. I like to document things for myself, and what the hell, I may as well put it on YouTube. I'm at like 951 subscribers, guys. I get to 1,000, I'm giving away that whole role player kit. Um, it's clogging up my basement. I want to get rid of it, so do what you got to do. So this is my Southwest. This has been my main queue for the most part since like 2021. At one point, I switched to a triangle tip. Then after 3 or 4 months, for no particular reason, except nostalgia, I switched to LaPro tips. LaPro is what I shot with a million years ago. Kind of, I guess, trying to relive my heyday or whatever. Put LaPro tip on this guy. I actually put about 4 or 5 different LaPro tips over the years, over the months, and they just weren't very good tips. What my camera doesn't focus, but if you imagine the size of this tip being fuzzy, super fuzzy, I have really sharp tools, so it wasn't a thing where one of my razor blades needed to be replaced or whatever. Everything was really sharp, but it was still like tearing the tip whenever I try to demushroom it. So that sucked. But I had at one point bought a box of triangle tips, and then a little bit later I bought a box of LaPro tips. So when I could put my own tips on, I have a lathe, I can do that kind of thing without completely stinking up the place. Just as an aside, for you guys, I guess especially, did you ever like take a pair of jeans like out of the dryer and they fit perfectly, and then you take like 3 steps and all of a sudden they're stretched out and falling down your ankles? That's what's happening to me right here, and my belt is all the way upstairs and I don't feel like going to get it. Anyway, back to the pool stuff. About a month ago, I decided that I wanted to find out kind of for myself for sure, the pro tip or a triangle tip. They were both fine, except for the box of LaPros I had was kind of they wouldn't last very long. They were both fine, but I didn't feel like I had enough time to do it. I'm working myself to death. So I took the shafts into my local bigger supply place, and they do tips and all that stuff. While I was at it, I took my brake cue shaft from my Sean H4, which has been my brake cue forever, in to have him put a real brake tip on it. I think it had like an ultraskin ivory or something like that. It wasn't a brake tip. So well, put a real brake tip on this. Just pick one. I don't care what you put on it. And then on the other two, put a LaPro on one and a triangle on the other. Now the other, when I say the other two, I bought 2 identical shafts from Peach Hour. And I can show you one of these because they're both exactly the same. Or not Peach Hour, sorry, it's Jacoby. The Ultra Pros. This is, I guess, a newer version of what I used to shoot with, which used to have a serial number on it. These don't. These 2 shafts, you can't tell them apart, except right now for the tips. So I dropped these 2 off. These 2, I said, put the tips on for me. I also put a brake tip on the other guy. And this was over a month ago. I finally made it back in there today. And picked up all the stuff. In the meantime, when I was there dropping all this stuff off, I was looking at the queues and stuff. He was waiting on another customer, I guess. And I said, well, there's a brake queue. Why don't you just buy the brake queue, Dave? And that's what I ended up doing. So I've mentioned this before. I've never done a review of this, but I did buy the Q-Tech Avid Surge brake Q while I was there. While I was there dropping off a shaft to get a real brake tip on it. I don't know. I haven't done a review of this. It's just a brake Q. But it's fine. It's a good brake Q. I brake well with it. I'm not one of those people that's going to be, this is what I use, therefore this is the best brake Q ever, and you will suck forever unless you buy this. No. There are people that do stuff like that. Mostly they do stuff like that. They're sponsored by Q-Tech. I am not sponsored by anybody except myself. But this is fine. One thing I found was interesting is that it doesn't have a tip. It's just all phenolic material all the way up. You know, ferrule and tip all combined. And again, my camera is not going to focus. But it's actually mushrooming just a little bit. Is that because of all this awesome power I have in my right arm? Probably not. I thought it was weird. I almost feel like I need to shave it and get it straightened out again a little bit. So I got the, what was the tip I got? Crap, I don't even remember. Whatever tip I got put on that brake Q shaft, whatever, I'm not going to use it because I'm just going to use this. I'm slowly but surely getting used to the big logo, drinking the Kool-Aid or whatever. And that's fine. It's fit perfectly fine for me. Perfectly fine. It's actually better. I brake better with that than I had broken with that Sean H4, which was not a brake Q. It was just a Q with a brake tip on it, I guess, at some point in his life anyway. So, I dropped off the other two shafts at the same time to do, like, I want to do a real comparison. I still want to do a real comparison between a Le Pro and a triangle tip. You know, you can go online, you can see, you know, hardness charts of the various tips. You can go to YouTube and you can see videos where people will say the tip doesn't matter. The varying hardnesses of tips make zero difference. The same thing like with the sponsorship deal I was talking about. You could have a guy that says, well, I use whatever, an Everest tip, whatever. Therefore, it's the only tip you should ever use. It's the greatest tip on planet Earth. And meanwhile, maybe that's the only tip that they've ever even bothered to try. Or maybe it's the only tip that even bothers to pay them money to say how great their product is. Again, not sponsored by anybody. No, I just wanted to find out. I think the best way to find out, for me, actually I think it's the best way to find out for anybody that's a pool player, is put down your calculator or your slide rule or your abacus or your counting sticks or your fingers where you can't really put down your fingers, but put all that shit down and shoot pool. And you can tell the difference. You might not be able to say, well, this is 1.003 times more efficient than this in this category. You might, but you just play. That's just what I think, and that's what I've always tried to do. Man, I'm really yammering, but I'm just really yammering. I dropped those two shafts off so I could do my comparison. And then when I got home, maybe a few days later, had the Le Pro tip that was on my Southwest hit an air pocket, like a blood vessel or something in tip, and have a blowout. Sometimes this happens with these tips. But I was already kind of frustrated with the Le Pros that I have in that box anyway. I was already and I was like, do I really want to put another one on there and go through all this again? And I said, no, I did not want to do that. What I did is I put an ultraskin medium on my Southwest. Now, ultraskin mediums are what I shot with for the better part of a decade before I went back to single layer tips. I like them. They're perfectly fine. They don't mushroom very much. After the first couple times, they don't mushroom at all anymore. My problem with those and with any of the layered tips I've ever tried is sometimes they start to delaminate and the various layers of the tip want to come off. So I really like the ultraskin medium tip until it would start to delaminate, and then I would really hate the ultraskin medium tip. But that's what I put on. I don't know, third week of April or something like that. And I like it just fine. My inner pool player still remembers how to play with that. Still remembers what, you know, what English does and all that with that tip. Pretty cool. So, you know, I dropped off the brake cue shaft to get a brake tip, and then instead I bought another brake. I brought a real brake cue. I dropped off the other stuff to get a real comparison between Le Pro and triangle tips, and now I'm almost positive I'm just going to switch back to the ultraskin mediums until, like, this tip on here right now betrays me and starts delaminating. Maybe it won't. Maybe they fix the glue or whatever was going on with it. Maybe this tip will be perfectly fine. Certainly plays perfectly fine for me. And that's what's going on here. I guess I went back in today to pick up the shaft, and he was working, helping another customer. So I'm just, you know, standing around looking at cues and stuff. Truman Hogue came in. He works there. I hadn't seen Truman in, I bet, over a year, maybe even 2 years. So I was like, yay, you know, Truman, I'm glad you're still alive, that type of thing. And it was pretty cool. We talked a little bit about the Buffaloes tournament that is coming up next week and things like that. I always feel like I'm kind of name dropping when I mention stuff like that. I'm not trying to name drop. I'm really not. Like, I mentioned Tony Chohan a lot. He's a friend of mine. So, yeah, I do mention him. And then Truman Hogue, famous in this area. I've known him for a hell of a long time. I don't know anybody else. So some people might possibly know my name. Josh Roberts, I think, knows my name. That type of deal. Last year, we were sitting at the casino with Tony and some other people, and Jeremy Jones comes over to sit down. It's like the smoking section, and he's going, hey Tony, hey, what's the guy's name? Reyes Gomez. Hey Reyes, you know, hi to all these people, and he looks at me and he says, I know you, but I don't know your name, because I've talked to him just about every year. Just had never, like, formally met him. That's kind of it. I knew Larry Neville, like, see him at Derby City every year and say hi and all that type of level. That's it. Not trying to name drop people. And I guess some people are going to think I am, but I'm really not. I never said this was going to be an interesting video. As a matter of fact, the title of this video is going to be something like the most boring video ever, something like that. Because it kind of is, but I wanted to document it, what the hell I'm doing. I got 3 new to me, at least 3 new tips, and I'm going to play with them a while, but none of them are going to be in my main arsenal. My main arsenal right now is this Q-Tech brake cue and this Southwest with the ultraskin medium on it. And the other stuff, I'll mess with it, see if I can determine for myself the difference between the triangle and the Le Pro. The difference for me, beyond the spreadsheets and tables and all that stuff, difference for me as a player. I'll see if this brake tip, wherever it went, I'll see if that brake tip, wherever it went, is any good. Oh, it's in the case. And that'll be it. So if you think this is really, 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 really boring, you know, leave a response in the comments, I guess. It's not like I'm going to change anything. I still tend to get a pair and yammer. And that's what you get with my channel. Sometimes you might get good stuff, but mostly yammering, I believe. All right. Thanks, guys.